Hi students, I wanted to review with you My Math Chapter 1, Lesson 6, Place Value through the Thousandths. For your objectives, students will be able to understand place value in decimal numbers, and students will be able to read and write decimals in standard, expanded, and word form. First, I want to show you your place value chart. If you haven't been using this to help you with your work, I really encourage you to take it out of your book. It's in the back of your My Math book, and it's page WM4 or Work Mat 4. I've put mine in a plastic slipcover so that I can rewrite on it over and over again, which might be a good idea for you as well. So when we are looking at decimals, we have to remember that there are two types of digits in a number. There are the whole numbers, and then there are the parts. The decimal point separates the whole from the part. You can think of it as a wall. All of the wholes are to the left of the decimal point, and the parts are to the right of the decimal point. On this place value chart, we see the ones period, which includes the ones, tens, and hundreds place value. And then for fifth grade, you're responsible for knowing the first three place values after or to the right of the decimal point: the tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. My little trick, and I've said this in class, the thousandths is the third spot to the right of the decimal point. There are three digits in the thousandths. 1, 2, 3. Remember that in the decimal place values, all of those words end with THS. And that's how we know it's a decimal place value and not in the wholes. So let's take a look at some examples and keep your place value chart handy because you'll need it. I'm actually pulling examples from your My Math book, page 45, if you'd like to go along with me in there. Let's read the directions. Name the place of the highlighted digit. Then write the value of the digit. So when we see the directions that say name the place, they want the word of its place value. And then write the value. This is a number. So looking at our first example, 63.47. Well, let's put that on our place value chart. Here's my decimal point. To the left of it was 63, and to the right of the decimal point was 47. So we are naming the place of the 7 that was highlighted, and then we're giving its value. So what's the place of the 7? The hundredths. So let's write that on our paper. It's the hundredths. Make sure you have your THS at the end of that word to show that it is a decimal place. And what's the value? So if we have a 7 in the hundredths, it's worth 7 hundredths. And you could write this in two ways. You could write it as a fraction, 7 100ths, or you can write it as a decimal. And you can do that by putting a 7 in the hundredths place and making everything else a 0. So it's worth 7 hundredths. Let's try another one. Let's go down to number 10. The number says 1.608. So to the left of my decimal point, I have a 1, and to the right, I have a 6, a 0, and an 8. The 8 is highlighted. I need to name the place, which is the word, and then write the value. The place of the 8 It's the third number after your decimal point. Third is the thousandths. They both start with TH. So 8 is in the thousandths place. And what is that worth? If you have 8 in the thousandths, it's worth 8 thousandths. You can write that as 8 over 1,000, or as a decimal. We need 8 in the third thousandths place. 1, 2, 3 is for our 8, and then we can make everything else a 0 to show that it is worth 8 thousandths. Using your place value chart is helpful because then you can see exactly what you need to write. All right, let's move on. Write each number in standard form. Standard form is the regular number written with numerals, okay? Numbers. Number 12 says 13 and 9/10. Using my place value chart, I know that this decimal point is the word and. So anything to the left of my and or my decimal point is a whole. How many wholes do I have? 13. So 13 is made up of 1 10 and 3 ones. What's after my decimal point? Those are decimal values. 9/10. Tenths is the place value of the last digit. So I need to have my number go up to the tenths place. And I have 9 of those tenths. Well, here's the tenths. I needed 9. So there's the standard form, 13.9. Now let's look at number 13. It says 50 and 6/100. Go to your place value chart. I have and is my decimal point. What's to the left of and? That would be your whole number. We have 50 as our whole. 5 10s, 0 1s. That's 50. And what's to the right of your decimal point? 6/100. Hundredths. Looking at your chart, it's not the first spot to the right. So we're not putting our 6 here. That would be 6/10. We needed 6/100. So our 6 has to go in the second spot. Now it says 6 in the hundredths. So what do we do here? Did we have any tenths? We did not. So we need to show a 0. If you forget this 0, it would be incorrect. So here's what 50 and 6/100 looks like in standard form. 50.06. All right, now we're getting to expanded form, our favorite. Remember, we're writing this in standard form. I like to add parentheses around all of the bits and pieces. We have 1 times 10 plus 1 times 1 plus 9 times 1/10 plus 2 times 1 100th plus 3 times 1 1,000th. In expanded form, when we see these fractions, that tells us that these are in the decimal side of our place value chart. So when I go to my place value chart, I know that I have some digits after the decimal point. But first, let's take a look at what's before it. I have a 1 in the tens place. Here's my tens. I have a 1 there. Then I have a 1 in the ones place. Here's my 1. I have a 1 there. So far, I know I have 11 wholes. Now let's look at the decimal values. 9 is in my tenths place. Here's the tenths. I'm going to write a 9. 2 is in my hundredths place. Here's my hundredths. I need a 2. And 3 is in the thousandths. I put my 3 in the thousandths. So what is our number in standard form? 11.923. And if I wanted to be fancy and read that, I would say 11 and 923 thousandths. All right, let's look at number 15. Careful on this one, there's a little trick. I see 7 in the tens. That's a whole number. So 7 is in the tens right here. I don't have any ones. There's nothing that says times 1. That means there's a 0 in the ones place. Now I'm getting into the decimal area. I have a 1 in the tenths place. Here's my tenths. I have a 1. I have a 5 in the thousandths place. This is not the thousandths. This is. I had a 5 in my thousandths right here. Did I have any hundredths? I did not. So I need to put that 0. If you forget these 2 zeros, your answer would be a lot different. This says 70 and 105 thousandths. If you forgot those zeros, you would have 7 and 15 hundredths. Think of it as money. That is $7.15. This is about, because we usually have hundredths with money, this is about $70.11 if I round it. So that's a big difference. $70 versus $7. You want to make sure that you are thinking about those zeros. So 70 and 105 thousandths. All right, let's do one more example. Let's write each number in expanded form and word form. I'm going to jump down to number 19. Let's expand this number. Of course, you know me, I'm going to use my place value chart. To the left of my decimal point was a 6 and a 9. To the right of my decimal point was a 409. So I have 69.409. Let's expand it, starting with my greatest value, the 6. I see a 6, and it's in my tens place. So I write 6 times 10. And I'm going to keep adding all of these different digits and their values. Next is a 9 in the ones place. 9 times 1. Now I'm heading to my decimals, so I'll see fractions. I have 4 in the tenths place. So that's 4 times 1/10. There are 0 hundredths, so I don't need to write that when I do expanded form. But I do have 9 thousandths. So I write 9 times 1/1000th. And there's your expanded form. Now we need to do word form. So let's read this number. 69 and, for our decimal point, 409. So I read this all together as a number. 409. And then to finish, we always have to name the last digit's place value. The last digit is 9, and it's in the thousandths. So I have to add that to my word form. 69 and 409 thousandths. And that's your word form. I hope this helped you a little bit. You can always pause and rewind and watch it as many times as you need, or let me know if you need more help. Bye for now.